Hello, one and all, and welcome to Conk's Corner, the show where I eat so much food that it starts poking out my nose. But really, I'm reading Harry Potter every single day. I have not read it yet. Please don't spoil anything in the chat or in the comments, because it's my first time! Do not ruin it. Do not ruin this for me. Welcome, everybody. We've been doing this since March or April. Long time. We're getting close to the end of the 6th book, and I need to turn on my Kindle, by the way, and get to the book. What am I doing here? I've done it for so long, and I'm not even prepared for this today. Man. It was a pretty great reading last time because Harry stood up on his own to the Minister of Magic. Just showed some real backbone. I really like that. It did take a while to get off that the permanent marker off my face from yesterday, but I'm prepared today. I'm prepared today. How about that intro music, huh? That was perfectly timed. That was pretty great. All right, let's get started on the reading, shall we? Let's just get into it. It's pretty red. It's thick and red. Okay, so what happened last time? Yeah, Percy was at home. Then he talked to what's a Scrimgeour, and now they're back at school, and they're about to get apparition lessons. So we'll see where people apparate into. Hopefully, somebody apparates into a wall. Am I just saying hopefully one of the kids dies? Do you die when you apparate into a wall? I don't know. Maybe. Who knows? What food should John eat until it comes out his nose? Yeah. Count on that. Okay. Here we go. What's the last thing that happened? Here we go. Ron was not the only one to be excited at the prospect of apparition. All that day there was much talk about the forthcoming lessons. A great deal of store was set by being able to vanish and reappear at will. How cool would it be when we who is this? Seamus. This is an Irish accent. Oh, yeah. How cool it would be when we can just Seamus clicked his fingers to indicate disappearance. My cousin Fergus does it just to annoy me. You wait till I can do it back. He'll never have another peaceful moment. Lost in visions of this happy prospect, he flicked his wand a little too enthusiastically, so that instead of producing the fountain of pure water that was the object of that day's charms lesson, he let out a hose-like jet that ricocheted off the ceiling and knocked Professor Flitwick flat on his face. Harry's already apparated, Ron told a slightly abashed Seamus, after Professor Flitwick had dried himself off with a wave of his wand and set Seamus' lines. I am a wizard, not a baboon brandishing a stick. Oh wait, no, that's Seamus saying that. All right. Who's saying this? Wait, Flitwick had dried himself off with a wave of his wand and set Seamus' lines. So Seamus had lines.
Someone took him. Side-along apparition, you know.
Whoa, whispered Seamus. And he, Dean, and Neville put their heads a little closer to hear what apparition felt like. For the rest of the day, Harry was besieged with requests from the other 6th years to describe the sensation of apparition. All of them seemed awed, rather than put off, when he told them how uncomfortable it was, and he was still answering detailed questions at 10 to 8 that evening, when he was forced to lie, and say that he needed to return a book to the library so as to escape in time for his lesson with Dumbledore. We get back to Dumbledore. Yeah. I love Dumbledore. John would happily eat ramen until it came out of his nose. I'm sure he has many times before. Mark is completely right. I'm a ramen junkie. I love ramen. I even went to a ramen museum in Japan. And let me tell you, I had a bowl of ramen there. Had no idea that any food on this earth could taste that good. I was overwhelmed. I was just sitting there. I couldn't speak. I couldn't move. I was paralyzed. Ramen paralyzed me. Let's get back to it. The lamps in Dumbledore's office were lit. The portraits... It was lit! Yo, Dumbledore! Your lamps are lit! The portraits of previous headmasters were snoring gently in their frames, and the pensieve was ready upon the desk once more. Dumbledore's hands lay either side of it, the right one as blackened and burned looking as ever. It did not seem to have healed at all, and Harry wondered, for perhaps the 100th time, what had caused such a distinctive injury, but did not ask. Dumbledore had said that he would know eventually, and there was, in any case, another subject he wanted to discuss. But before Harry could say anything about Snape and Malfoy, Dumbledore spoke.
I hear that you met the Minister for Magic over Christmas.
Yes, said Harry. He's not very happy with me. Music is a bit too loud. Okay, thank you for that. I will turn the music down. Thank you for that feedback. Where is it? Is that better? All right.
No,
Sighed Dumbledore.
he is not very happy with me either. We must try not to sink beneath our anguish, Harry, but battle on.
Harry grinned. He wanted to tell me the wizarding community. He wanted me to tell the wizarding community that the Ministry's doing a wonderful job. Dumbledore smiled.
It was Fudge's idea originally, you know. During his last days in office, when he was trying desperately to cling to his post, he sought a meeting with you, hoping that you would give him your support.
After everything Fudge did last year, said Harry angrily. After Umbridge.
I told Cornelius there was no chance of it. But the idea did not die when he left office. Within hours of Scrimgeour's appointment, we met, and he demanded that I arrange a meeting with you.
Oh!
Boo! Go on, get out of here!
Boo!
You suck! Get off the stage!
You're like Dumbridge.
I have no idea why it goes to the intro screen when I press that button. Oh yeah, this is not the music I usually use. There we go. Back at it. I gotta fix that, obviously. Okay. All right. So that's why you argued, Harry blurted out. It was in the Daily Prophet.
The prophet is bound to report the truth occasionally,
said Dumbledore.
if only accidentally. Yes, that's why we argued. Well, it appears that Rufus found a way to corner you at last.
He accused me of being Dumbledore's man through and through.
How very rude of him.
I told him I was. That's a great moment. I like that. They both know that they like each other. They're so loyal to each other. It's great. Dumbledore opened his mouth to speak and then closed it again. Behind Harry, Fawkes the Phoenix let out a low, soft, musical cry. Ooh, just sitting here on my perch. I'm a bird, I'm a phoenix. Eventually I'll die, but now I'm alive because I died 100 times before. To Harry's intense embarrassment, he suddenly realized that Dumbledore's bright blue eyes looked rather watery and stared hastily at his own knees. When Dumbledore spoke, however, his voice was quite steady.
I am very touched, Harry.
Oh my gosh, I didn't think that would happen. He's so moved. He's so moved by Harry. Oh man. John's Phoenix voice over John's Owl's voices. Well, owls aren't known to have great voices, really. All it goes, woohoo! Oh, that's really sweet. That's really sweet. Scrimgeour wanted to know where you go when you're not at Hogwarts, said Harry, still looking fixedly at his knees.
Yes, he is very nosy about that,
said Dumbledore, now sounding cheerful. And Harry thought it safe to look up again. Oh, wait, there was some emotion there.
He has even attempted to have me followed. Amusing, really. He set Dawlish to tail me. It wasn't kind. I have already been forced to jinx Dawlish once. I did it again, with the greatest regret.
I forget who Dawlish is. So they still don't know where you go? Asked Harry, hoping for more information on this intriguing subject. But Dumbledore merely smiled over the top of his half-moon spectacles.
No, they don't. And the time is not quite right for you to know either. Now, I suggest we press on, unless there is anything else.
There is, actually, sir, said Harry. It's about Malfoy and Snape.
Professor Snape, Harry?
Yes, sir. I overheard them during Professor Slughorn's party. Well, I followed them, actually. Dumbledore listened to Harry's story with an impassive face.
Go on, Harry. I shall never react. I shall never show my true secrets.
When Harry had finished, he did not speak for a few moments, then said,
Thank you for telling me this, Harry. But I suggest that you put it out of your mind. I do not think that it is of great importance.
Not of great importance, repeated Harry incredulously. Professor, did you understand?
Yes, Harry. Blessed as I am with extraordinary brain power, I understood everything you told me,
said Dumbledore a little sharply. I love when he's sarcastic.
I think you might even consider the possibility that I understood more than you did. Again, I am glad that you have confided in me. But let me reassure you that you have not told me anything that causes me disquiet.
Harry sat in seething silence, glaring at Dumbledore. What was going on? Did this mean that Dumbledore had indeed ordered Snape to find out what Malfoy was doing, in which case he had already heard everything Harry had just told him from Snape? Or was he really worried by what he had heard, but pretending not to be? That's frustrating for Harry. It's also kind of Dumbledore's fault. Like, he's saying, yeah, I'll be open with everything,
but I won't tell you what's up with my hand, and I won't tell you why I don't think that Snape and Draco are doing bad things.
So it's not really being open and honest. Of course he's frustrated. I would be. I was like, you told me we'd be open with each other. And honest. Come on. So, sir, said Harry, in what he hoped was a polite, calm voice, you definitely still trust...
I have been tolerant enough to answer that question already,
said Dumbledore, but he did not sound very tolerant anymore.
My answer has not changed.
Phineas Nigellus. Oh, what? Phineas Nigellus is in the room? Oh, wait, he's one of the pictures. Sorry. I thought he was this other dude, right?
I should... what was his voice? Oh, yeah. It's kind of drunk. Yeah. I should think not,
said a snide voice. Phineas Nigellus was evidently only pretending to be asleep. Dumbledore ignored him.
And now, Harry, I must insist that we press on. I have more important things to discuss with you this evening.
Ooh. Dope lamps, Brian. Humble Brian. Brian's secrets? Oh, lit lamps, Brian. Brian has more lava lamps than John. Probably. Harry sat there feeling mutinous. I like that line. I don't know why. You just sit there feeling mutinous. How would it be if he refused to permit the change of subject? If he insisted upon arguing the case against Malfoy? As though he had read Harry's mind, Dumbledore shook his head.
Oh, Harry. How often this happens. Even between the best of friends. Each of us believes that what he has to say is much more important than anything the other might have to contribute.
I don't think what you've got to say is unimportant, sir, said Harry stiffly.
Well, you are quite right, because it is not, said Dumbledore briskly. I have 2 more memories to show you this evening.
Oh, cool.
Both obtained with enormous difficulty, and the second of them is, I think, the most important I have collected.
Harry did not say anything to this. He still felt angry at the reception his confidences had received, but could not see what was to be gained by arguing further.
So,
said Dumbledore in a ringing voice,
we meet this evening to continue the tale of Tom Riddle,
sweet,
whom we left last lesson poised on the threshold of his years at Hogwarts. You will remember how excited he was to hear that he was a wizard, that he refused my company on a trip to Diagon Alley, and that I, in turn, warned him against continued thievery when he arrived at school. Well, the start of the school year arrived, and with it came Tom Riddle, a quiet boy in his second-hand robes, who lined up with the other first years to be sorted.
A quiet boy. Okay, a quiet boy.
Why he so quiet? Why that boy so quiet?
Yeah, that recap was helpful.
And now for a bit of exposition.
Okay, quiet boy in his second-hand robes.
He was placed in Slytherin House almost the moment that the Sorting Hat touched his head.
This one belongs to Slytherin,
Continued Dumbledore, waving his blackened hand towards the shelf over his head, where the Sorting Hat sat, ancient and unmoving. I wonder where the Sorting Hat goes to in his mind that whole year. Is he like an Ent? Like out of Lord of the Rings? Just like sits there and is just cool, calm, and collected, just observes time passing? Or where does he go in his mind?
How soon Riddle learned that the famous founder of the house could talk to snakes, I do not know. Perhaps that very evening. The knowledge can only have excited him and increased his sense of self-importance. However, if he was frightened or impressing fellow Slytherins with displays of parcel tongue in their common room, no hint of it reached the staff. He showed no signs of outward arrogance or aggression at all. As an unusually talented and very good-looking orphan, he naturally drew attention and sympathy from the staff almost from the moment of his arrival. He seemed polite, quiet, and thirsty for knowledge. Nearly all were most favourably impressed by him.
Didn't you tell them, sir, what he'd been like when you met him at the orphanage? Asked Harry.
No, I did not, though he had shown no hint of remorse. It was possible that he felt sorry for how he behaved before, and was resolved to turn over a fresh leaf. I chose to give him that chance.
Dumbledore paused and looked inquiringly at Harry, who had opened his mouth to speak. I like Dumbledore. He's not necessarily testing Harry. He just always like checking into Harry's character. He says this and he knows Harry's going to have a reaction. He's like, what's your reaction going to be? You know what? Maybe Dumbledore realizes how powerful Harry is. And he knows Harry's good. He knows his heart. But he knows maybe there's also a danger that Harry could let his anger get the best of him. Right? And so he's always, you know, not testing his character, but like looking at his character, trying to build him like a good teacher would build his character. I like your thought process. Thanks, Thomas. Okay, Dumbledore paused and looked inquiringly at Harry, who had opened his mouth to speak. Here again was Dumbledore's tendency to trust people in spite of overwhelming evidence that they did not deserve it. But then Harry remembered something. But you didn't really trust him, sir, did you? He told me, the riddle who came out of that diary said, Dumbledore never seemed to like me as much as the other teachers did.
Let us say that I did not take it for granted that he was trustworthy,
said Dumbledore.
I had, as I have already indicated, resolved to keep a close eye upon him, and so I did. I cannot pretend that I gleaned a great deal from my observations at first. He was very guarded with me. He felt, I am sure, that in the thrill of discovering his true identity he had told me a little too much. He was careful never to reveal as much again, but he could not take back what he had let slip in his excitement, nor what Mrs. Cole had confided in me. However, he had the sense never to try and charm me as he had charmed so many of my colleagues. As he moved up the school, he gathered about him a group of dedicated friends. I call them that for want of a better term, although, as I have already indicated, Riddle undoubtedly felt no affection for any of them. This group had a kind of dark glamour within the castle. They were a motley collection, a mixture of the weak seeking protection, the ambitious seeking some shared glory, and the thuggish gravitating towards a leader who could show them more refined forms of cruelty. In other words, they were the forerunners of the Death Eaters, and indeed some of them became the first Death Eaters after leaving Hogwarts.
He built his team at Hogwarts. Okay. A good theory of Dumbledore. Good point of view. Thank you.
Rigidly controlled by Riddle, they were never detected in open wrongdoing, although their 7 years at Hogwarts were marked by a number of nasty incidents to which they were never satisfactorily linked. The most serious of which was, of course, the opening of the Chamber of Secrets, which resulted in the death of a girl. As you know, Hagrid was wrongly accused of that crime. I have not been able to find memories of Riddle at Hogwarts,
said Dumbledore, placing his withered hand on the pensieve.
Few who know him then are prepared to talk about him. They are too terrified. What I know, I found out after he had left Hogwarts, after much painstaking effort, after tracing those few who could be tricked into speaking, after searching old records and questioning Muggle and wizard witnesses alike. Those whom I could persuade to talk told me that Riddle was obsessed with his parentage. This is understandable, of course. He had grown up in an orphanage, and naturally wished to know how he came to be there. It seems that he searched in vain for some trace of Tom Riddle Sr. on the shields in the trophy room, on the lists of prefects in the old school records, even in the books of wizarding history. Finally, he was forced to accept that his father had never set foot in Hogwarts. I believe then that it was then that he dropped the name forever, assumed the identity of Lord Voldemort, and began his investigations into his previously despised mother's family, the woman whom, you will remember, he had thought could not be a witch if she had succumbed to the shameful human weakness of death.
Whoa, he's going on and on and on. This is like the end of book 5. Well, book 4? Book 5. Okay.
All he had to go upon was the single name Marvolo, which he knew from those who ran the orphanage had been his mother's father's name. Finally, after painstaking research through old books of wizarding families, he discovered the existence of Slytherin's surviving line. In the summer of his 16th year, he left the orphanage, to which he returned annually, and set off to find his gaunt relatives. And now, Harry, if you will stand.
That was an introduction to a memory. Woo-wee! Hey, Carla Albaran, we're late. We're about to go into another memory. He hated his name so much he took such care to make his new name an anagram of his old one. Yeah. Dumbledore rose, and Harry saw that he was again holding a small crystal bottle filled with swirling, pearly memory.
I was very lucky to collect this,
He said, as he poured the gleaming mass into the pensieve.
as you will understand when we have experienced it. Shall we?
Harry stepped up to the stone basin and bowed obediently until his face sank through the surface of the memory. He felt the familiar sensation of falling through nothingness and then landed upon a dirty stone floor into an almost total darkness. It took him several seconds to recognize the place, by which time Dumbledore had landed beside him. The Gaunt's house was now... let's put on some creepy music fit here. A little bit of creepy music, maybe? Maybe a little creepy music. Would you like some creepy music? Happy birthday. It took him several seconds to recognize the place, by which time Dumbledore had landed beside him. What was that? I don't know what that was. I just go with the flow sometimes. The Gaunt's house was now more indescribably filthy than anywhere Harry had ever seen. The ceiling was thick with cobwebs, the floor coated with grime, moldy and rotting food lay upon the table, amidst a mass of crusted pots. The only light came from a single guttering candle placed at the feet of a man with hair and beard so overgrown Harry could see neither eyes nor mouth. Yowza. He was slumped in an armchair by the fire, and Harry wondered for a moment whether he was dead. But then there came a loud knock on the door, and the man jerked ahead, raising a wand in his right hand and a short knife in his left. The door creaked open. There on the threshold, holding an old-fashioned lamp, stood a boy. Harry recognized at once, tall, pale, dark-haired, and handsome, the teenage Voldemort. Voldemort's eyes moved slowly around the hovel, and then found the man in the armchair. For a few seconds they looked at each other. Then the man staggered upright, the many empty bottles at his feet clattering and tinkling across the floor. I'm assuming this is his grandpa. What's his face? The old dude.
I forget his voice. Something like this. Oh no, you,
He bellowed.
you!
And he hurtled drunkenly at Riddle, wandering and knife held aloft. Stop. Riddle spoke in parcel tongue. The man skidded into the table, sending moldy pots crashing to the floor. He stared at Riddle. There was a long silence while they contemplated each other. The man broke it.
You speak it.
Yes, I speak it, said Riddle. He moved forwards into the room, allowing the door to swing shut behind him. Harry could not help but feel a resentful admiration for Voldemort's complete lack of fear. His face merely expressed disgust and perhaps disappointment. Backwards hillbilly that hissed moronic slow. It's Christopher Walken. Who's like Christopher Walken? Oh yeah, Christopher Walken. I don't remember that. Is this the voice I had for him? I can't remember.
Where is my Volo?
He asked. Dead, said the other. No, wait. Oh no, right. Where is my Volo? He asked.
Dead,
Said the other.
died years ago, didn't he?
Riddle frowned. Who are you then?
I'm Morphin, ain't I?
My Volo's son.
Course I am, then.
Morphin pushed the hair out of his... Oh, okay. I thought it was his grandpa, not his uncle, I guess. Right, it's the dumb guy. Okay, right. Okay, right. Okay, Riddle frowned. Who are you then?
I'm Morphin, ain't I?
My Volo's son.
Course I am, then.
Morphin pushed the hair out of his dirty face, the better to see Riddle, and Harry saw that he wore Marvolo's black stone ring on his right hand.
I thought you was that muggle,
Whispered Morphin.
You look mighty like that muggle.
What muggle? Said Riddle sharply.
That muggle was what my sister took a fancy to. That muggle what lives in the big house over the way,
said Morphin, and he spat unexpectedly upon the floor between them.
You look right like him, Riddle. But he's older now, isn't he? He's older than you, now that I think on it.
Morphin looked slightly dazed and swayed a little, still clutching the edge of the table for support.
He come back, see?
He added stupidly. Voldemort was gazing at Morphin, as though appraising his possibilities. Now he moved a little closer and said, Riddle came back.
He left her, and serve her right, marrying filth,
said Morphin, spitting on the floor again.
Robbed us, mind, before she ran off. Where's the locket, eh? Where's Slytherin's locket?
Voldemort did not answer. Morphin was working himself into a rage again. He brandished his knife and shouted,
Dishonored us, she did, that little slut. And who are you, coming here and asking questions about all that? It's over, isn't it? It's over.
He looked away, staggering slightly, and Voldemort moved forwards. As he did so, an unnatural darkness fell, extinguishing Voldemort's lamp and Morphin's candle, extinguishing everything. Dumbledore's fingers closed tightly around Harry's arm, and they were soaring back into the present again. The soft golden light in Dumbledore's office seemed to dazzle Harry's eyes after that impenetrable darkness. Is that all? Said Harry at once. Why did it go dark? What happened?
Because Morphin could not remember anything from that point onwards, said
Dumbledore, gesturing Harry back into his seat.
When he awoke next morning, he was lying on the floor quite alone. Marvolo's ring had gone.
Oh, so he basically stole he took the ring back, I guess. Maybe he's a true heir to it, but he took the ring away. And so Morphin's just been sitting in that cottage alone, growing, stinking, not showering, just full of rage, fixated upon his sister leaving, fixated upon probably his dad dying. He's just got like nothing but anger. Oh, jeez. Oh, man. Okay.
Meanwhile, in the village of Little Hangleton, a maid was running along the high street, screaming that there were 3 bodies lying in the drawing room of the big house. Tom Riddle Sr. and his mother and father.
Oh, damn. He just went straight up killed all 3 of them, this little teenager. This little psychopath.
The Muggle authorities were perplexed. As far as I am aware, they do not know to this day how the Riddles had died, for the Avada Kedavra curse does not usually leave any signs of damage. The exception sits before me,
Dumbledore added, with a nod to Harry's scar.
The Ministry, on the other hand, knew at once that this was a wizard's murder. They also knew that a convicted Muggle-hater lived across the valley from the Riddle house. A Muggle-hater who had already been imprisoned once for attacking one of the murdered people. So the Ministry called upon Morphin. They did not need to question him, to use veritaserum or legitimacy. He admitted to the murder on the spot, giving details only the murderer could know.
Oh, he hypnotized him, or put something in him. He inceptioned him.
He was proud, he said, to have killed the Muggles, had been awaiting his chance all these years. He handed over his wand, which was proved at once to have been used to kill the Riddles. And he permitted himself to be led off to Azkaban without a fight. All that disturbed him was the fact that his father's ring had disappeared. "You'll kill me for losing it," he told his captors over and over again. "He'll kill me for losing his ring." And that, apparently, was all he ever said again. He lived out the remainder of his life in Azkaban, lamenting the loss of Malvolo's last heirloom, and is buried beside the prison alongside the other poor souls who have expired within its walls.
So Voldemort stole Morphin's wand and used it, said Harry, sitting up straight. Remember the start of Book 4 with that muggle Frank Bryce they tended to in the Riddle House? Right. Yeah, I do remember. That poor guy. Poor Frank.
"That's right,"
said Dumbledore.
"We have no memories to show us this, but I think we can be fairly sure what happened. Voldemort stupefied his uncle, took his wand, and proceeded across the valley to the big house over the way. There he murdered the Muggle man who had abandoned his witch mother and, for good measure, his Muggle grandparents, thus obliterating the last of the unworthy Riddle line and revenging himself upon the father who never wanted him. Then he returned to the gaunt hovel, performed the complex bit of magic that would implant a false memory in his uncle's mind, laid Morphin's wand beside its unconscious owner, pocketed the ancient ring he wore, and departed."
And Morphin never realized he hadn't done it.
"Never,"
said Dumbledore.
"He gave, as I say, a full and boastful confession."
But he had this real memory in him all the time.
"Yes. But it took a great deal of skilled legitimacy to coax it out of him,"
said Dumbledore.
"And why should anyone delve further into Morphin's mind when he had already confessed to the crime? However, I was able to secure a visit to Morphin in the last weeks of his life, by which time I was attempting to discover as much as I could about Voldemort's past. I extracted this memory with difficulty. When I saw what it contained, I attempted to use it to secure Morphin's release from Azkaban. Before the Ministry reached their decision, however, Morphin had died."
But how come the Ministry didn't realize that Voldemort had done all that to Morphin? Harry asked angrily. He was underage at the time, wasn't he? I thought they could detect underage magic.
"You are quite right. They can detect magic, but not the perpetrator. You will remember that you were blamed by the Ministry for the hover charm that was in fact cast by—"
"Dobby," growled Harry. This injustice still rankled. "So if you're underage and you do magic inside an adult witch or wizard's house, the Ministry won't know?"
"They will certainly be unable to tell who performed the magic,"
said Dumbledore, smiling slightly at the look of great indignation on Harry's face.
"They rely on witch and wizard parents to enforce their offspring's obedience while within their walls."
"Well, that's rubbish," snapped Harry. Look what happened here. Look what happened to Morphin."
"I agree,"
said Dumbledore.
"Whatever Morphin was, he did not deserve to die as he did, blamed for murders he had not committed. But it is getting late, and I want you to see this other memory before we part."
Dumbledore took from an inside pocket another crystal vial, and Harry fell silent at once, remembering that Dumbledore had said it was the most important one he had collected. "I am excited." Harry noticed that the contents proved difficult to empty inside the pensieve, as though they had congealed slightly. Did memories go off? That's funny,
This will not take long.
said Dumbledore, when he had finally emptied the file, F-I-L-E. Okay, it's like that. Vial. Yeah, it's just vial, just spelled differently. Harry noticed that wait, here we go, said Dumbledore when he had finally emptied the vial.
We shall go back before you know it. Once more into the Pensieve, then.
And Harry fell again through the silver surface, landing this time right in front of a man he recognized at once. It was a much younger Horace Slughorn. I just forgot who he was for a second. Oh, much younger. Harry was so used to him bald that he found the sight of Slughorn with thick, shiny, straw-colored hair quite disconcerting. It looked as though he had his head thatched, though there was already a shiny, galleon-sized bald patch on his crown. His mustache, less massive than it was these days, was gingery blonde. He was not quite as rotund as the Slughorn Harry knew, though the golden buttons on his rich embroidered waistcoat were taking a fair amount of strain. His little feet resting upon a velvet buffet, he was sitting well back in a comfortable winged armchair, one hand grasping a small glass of wine, the other searching through a box of crystallized pineapple. Harry looked around as Dumbledore appeared beside him, and saw that they were standing in Slughorn's office. Vase. Yes. This is my special vase. I'm drinking out of a vase glass. Because it's just big enough for my giant hands. Harry looked around as Dumbledore appeared beside him, and saw that they were standing in Slughorn's office. Half a dozen boys were sitting around Slughorn, all on harder or lower seats than his, and all in their mid-teens. Harry recognized Riddle at once. His was the most handsome face, and he looked the most relaxed of all the boys. His right hand lay negligently upon the arm of his chair. With a jolt, Harry saw that he was wearing Marvolo's gold and black ring. He had already killed his father. "Sir, is it true that Professor Merrythorpe is retiring?" Riddle asked. Okay.
Scottish. He talks like this, all right? When he's younger, he talks like this, yeah. Tom, if I knew, I couldn't tell you,
said Slughorn, wagging a reproving sugar-covered finger at Riddle, though ruining the effect slightly by winking.
Must say, I'd like to know where you get your information, boy. More knowledgeable than half the stuff you are.
Riddle smiled. The other boys laughed and cast him admiring looks.
What with your uncanny ability to know things you shouldn't, and your careful flattery of the people who matter. Thank you for the pineapple, by the way. You're quite right. It is my favorite.
As several of the boys tittered, something very odd happened. The whole room was suddenly filled with a thick white fog, so that Harry could see nothing. Now, let's see, do we have white? Do I have white here? Yeah, I do. So that Harry could see nothing but the face of Dumbledore, who was standing beside him. Then Slughorn's voice rang out through the mist, unnaturally loud.
"You'll go wrong, boy. Mark my words."
The fog cleared as suddenly as it had appeared, and yet nobody made any allusion to it. Wait, was it Slughorn's voice? Yeah. Okay. The fog cleared as suddenly as it had appeared, and yet nobody made any allusion to it, nor did anybody look as though anything unusual had just happened. All right. Bewildered, Harry looked around as a small golden clock standing upon Slughorn's desk chimed 11 o'clock.
"Good gracious! Is it that time already?"
said Slughorn.
"You'd better get going, boys, or we'll all be in trouble. Lestrange! I want your essay by tomorrow or it's detention. Same goes for you, Avery."
Slughorn pulled himself out of his armchair and carried his empty glass over to his desk as the boys filed out. Riddle, however, stayed behind. Harry could tell he had dawdled deliberately, wanting to be last in the room with Slughorn.
Look sharp, Tom,
said Slughorn, turning around and finding him still present.
You don't want to be caught out of bed out of hours, and you are a prefect.
Sir, I wanted to ask you something.
Ask away, then, my boy. Ask away.
Harry hasn't peed in weeks, that's true. Sir, I wondered what you know about Horcruxes. And it happened all over again. The dense room filled with fog, so that Harry could not see Slughorn or Riddle at all. Only Dumbledore smiling serenely beside him. Then Slughorn's voice boomed out again, just as it had done before.
Don't know anything about Horcruxes. I wouldn't tell you if I did. Now get out of here. Nay, get out of here at once, and don't let me catch you mentioning them again. Well, that's that,
said Dumbledore placidly, said Harry.
Time to go.
What the heck is going on? And Harry's feet left the floor to fall, seconds later, back on the rug in front of Dumbledore's desk. We have arrived. Okay, back to regular music. That's all there is? Said Harry blankly. Dumbledore had said that this was the most important memory of all, but he could not see what was so significant about it. Admittedly, the fog and the fact that nobody seemed to have noticed it was odd, but other than that, nothing seemed to have happened except that Riddle had asked a question and failed to get an answer.
As you might have noticed,
said Dumbledore, reseating himself behind his desk.
That memory has been tampered with.
Tampered with? Repeated Harry, sitting back down.
Certainly,
said Dumbledore.
Professor Slughorn has meddled with his own recollections.
But why would he do that?
Because I think he is ashamed of what he remembers,
said Dumbledore.
He has tried to rework the memory to show himself in a better light, obliterating those parts which he does not wish me to see. It is, as you will have noticed, very crudely done, and that is all to the good, for it shows that the memory, the true memory, is still there beneath the alterations. And so, for the first time, I am giving you homework, Harry. It will be your job to persuade Professor Slughorn to divulge the real memory, which will undoubtedly be our most crucial piece of information of all.
Dumbledore has given Harry his first mission. Awesome. Not homework. It's a mission. He is Dumbledore's army. Love it. Love it, love it, love it. Lover, lover, lover. Lover, lover, lover. Harry stared at him. But surely, sir, he said, keeping his voice as respectable as possible. You don't need me. You could use legilimency or veritaserum.
Professor Slughorn is an extremely able wizard who will be expecting both,
said Dumbledore.
He is much more accomplished at occlumency than poor Morphin Gaunt, and I would be astonished if he has not carried an antidote to veritaserum with him ever since I coerced him into giving me this travesty of a recollection. No, I think it would be foolish to attempt to wrest the truth from Professor Slughorn by force, and might do much more harm than good. I do not wish him to leave Hogwarts. However, he has his weaknesses like the rest of us, and I believe that you are the one person who might be able to penetrate his defenses. It is most important that we secure the true memory, Harry. How important? We will only know we have seen the real thing. So, good luck. And good night.
A little taken aback by this abrupt dismissal, Harry got to his feet quickly. Good night, sir. As he closed the door behind him, he distinctly heard Phineas Nigella say,
I can't see why the boy should be able to do it better than you, Dumbledore.
I wouldn't expect you to, Phineas,
replied Dumbledore, and Fawkes gave another low, musical cry.
Ooh, what a good choice to give that Harry a mission. I'm a bird. I'm a bird, I'm a bird, I'm a bird, I'm a bird who dies and lives again. Don't forget me, I'll be around till the end.
All right, end of that chapter. Hello from Australia. Hi, Bryce. I grew up in Australia. First 10 years of my life. Had a full-blown Australian accent. And then I lived in Germany for 8 years. And then I moved to Canada when I was 17 by myself. And the first year had still had that full-blown Australian accent, and it slowly disappeared. Now I don't. I talk like an Australian. I can do the whole thing like an Australian if I want to. Hey, come here, boy. Come here, boy. Come here. There we go. He wants to visit. Okay, we got a little bit left. We got a little bit of time. I can start this chapter. Here's little Dexy. Hey, time for a little nose makeout. He loves licking my nose. Oh, get in there, boy. Okay, chapter 18. Birthday surprises. But if you visit Australia, then maybe it comes back, the accent. Yeah, maybe. Maybe. It could, actually. Birthday surprises. The next day, Harry confided in both Ron and Hermione the task that Dumbledore had set him through, though separately, for Hermione still refused to remain in Ron's presence longer than it took him to give a contemptuous look. Ron thought that Harry was unlikely to have any trouble with Slughorn at all. Well, he loves you, he said over breakfast, waving an airy fork full of fried egg. Won't refuse you anything, will he? Not his little potions, Prince. Oh, just hang back after class this afternoon and ask him. Hermione, however, took a gloomier view. He must be determined to hide what really happened if Dumbledore couldn't get it out of him, she said in a low voice, as they stood in the deserted snowy courtyard at break. Horcruxes. Horcruxes. I've never even heard of them. You haven't? Harry was disappointed. He had hoped that Hermione might have been able to give him a clue as to what Horcruxes were. They must be really advanced dark magic, or why would Voldemort have wanted to know about them? I think it's going to be difficult to get the information, Harry. You'll have to be very careful about how you approach Slughorn. Think out a strategy. Ron reckons I should hang back after potions this afternoon. Oh, well, if Won thinks that, you'd better do it, she said, flaring up at once. After all, when was Won's judgment ever been faulty? Hermione, can't you... No! She said angrily. Oh, sorry, buddy. I didn't mean to yell no. He thinks I'm angry with him when I say no. Sometimes I'm very... She said angrily and stormed away, leaving Harry alone and ankle-deep in snow, naked. Potions lessons were uncomfortable enough these days, seeing as Harry, Ron, and Hermione had to share a desk. Today, Hermione moved her cauldron around the table so that she was close to Ernie and ignored both Harry and Ron. What have you done? Ron muttered to Harry, looking at Hermione's haughty profile. But before Harry could answer, Slughorn was calling for silence from the front of the room.
Settle down, please. Quickly now. Lots of work to get through this afternoon.
Oh, he wants down.
Golpalot's third law. Who can tell me? But Miss Granger can, of course.
Hermione recited at top speed. Golpalot's third law states that oh God, this is with hyphens between every word. Golpalot's third law states the antidote for a blended poison will be equal to more than the sum of the antidotes for each of the separate components. Pretty good, huh?
Precisely,
beamed Slughorn.
10 points for Gryffindor. Now, if we accept Golpalot's third law as true...
Harry was going to have to take Slughorn's word for it that Golpalot's third law was true, because okay, what's the law? I have to say that so quickly. Third law says that the antidote for a blended poison will be equal to more than the sum of the antidotes for each of the... What? Huh? That the antidote for a blended poison will be equal to more than the sum of the antidotes for each of the separate components. Oh, okay. Right, okay, so then blended together is stronger than all the three of them. Okay. I know why that's important. Harry was going to have to take Slughorn's word for it that Golpalot's third law was true because he had not understood any of it. Nobody, there we go. Nobody apart from Hermione seemed to be following what Slughorn said next either.
Which means, of course, that assuming we have achieved correct identification of the potion's ingredients by Scarpin's Revala spell, our primary aim is not the relatively simple one of selecting antidotes to those ingredients in and of themselves, but to find that added component which will, by an almost alchemical process, transform these disparate elements.
What the heck is he saying? Which means, of course, that assuming we've achieved correct identification of potions ingredients by Scarpin's reverse, but our primary aim is not to the relatively simple one of selecting antidotes of those ingredients in themselves, but to find that added component which will, and almost, I don't even understand. I don't even want to be bothered with that. This is basically my response to everything in school. That I was like not interested in. I was like, fool around with my friends. Okay, I think I'm just gonna end there. That sentence just frustrated me to no end, and I'm just ending there. And I need to go where I have roomy dinner. Nobody else in the story understands it either. Okay, well, there you go. Brain meltdown. Forget it. Slughorn got me lost there. John, have you ever heard of the term Horcrux before? Yeah, I've heard of the term. I've heard... yeah, I don't know where, but I have. I was just like that in school. Lol. Okay, well, that was really interesting. So Slughorn definitely taught young Tom Riddle about, well, not Tom Riddle anymore, Voldemort, about Horcruxes. And we got to see his uncle. I actually feel bad for his uncle. Obviously, he's quite, you know, he just feeds off the anger of his dad, and then he's just alone, and then he gets mistreated. I feel bad for him, actually. I know he's bad in a way, but I feel bad for him. Yeah, we found that out too. Man, oh man. Well, that was fun. I won't be back tomorrow. Wednesday I won't be back. Thursday I will. So Thursday evening I'll be reading again. Join me again at 6 p.m. for more of it. More of this wonderful book, this wonderful process. And I hope you have a wonderful day off. I'll see you all on... Oh, wait. Any premonitions about what to come from what you read? Not really. I don't know what to premonize about. They usually come to me in the moment, you know? They come from outside. What do you think a Horcrux is? A crux. Isn't a crux usually something that somebody needs to lean on? Maybe I'm thinking of a crutch. I'm thinking of a crutch. Crux. It's your crux. Horcrux. I don't know. Ask me next time. I'm gonna think about this. And ask me next time. One song? Song of what? One song. Yeah, this is your song! That's it. Goodbye, everybody, and good night.